Ah, what a beautiful day. Sun is shining, temperatures are high. You know, I might just take today to get some real world stuff done. So, like I was saying, time to research for the next video. Why do I do this to myself? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of your favorite Halo gun is shit, where this week we're talking about Halo Infinite's Mk50 Sidekick, the gun that made every M6 Magnum stand collectively have an aneurysm. What? After the announcement that the Mk50 would be replacing the M6 series Magnum at launch, 343 had to do a lot of damage control to make sure that the Halo community didn't take another step closer to jumping off a building. So what did they do? Well, they started by assuring us that it is possible that it might be implemented in later, and after that they fixed the entire design of the pistol. Everyone thought it looked too generic and modern and basic, so they, get this, added an undermounted sight. In all seriousness, the Mk50 is Halo Infinite's new UNSC sidearm, replacing, at launch at least, the M6 series Magnums. The Sidekick is a semi-automatic recoil-operated pistol firing a 10mm, presumably full metal jacket, cartridge out of a 12-round double-stack box magazine. Since the details on this thing are more scarce than China's food supply, the only bit of background information I have is that the Sidekick was developed by Emerson Tactical Solutions sometime before the events of Halo Infinite. And yep, that's literally it. But despite this lack of detail, I will still try to make a fair analysis of it, because we all know how well that's worked out so far. So, as a first for this channel, I'd actually like to get into the ergonomics of the pistol, which should have been fairly easy because this thing looks just about as basic as a Starbucks in September. I can still smell the pumpkin. Finding a modern equivalent that's chambered in 10mm auto, while also having a similar shape, proved to be quite the difficult task. For those who aren't aware, 10mm auto in metric is 10 by 26mm. Now I'm telling you that to tell you this. Since the 10mm auto round is actually fairly uncommon in modern pistols, I actually wasn't able to find one that I was totally satisfied with as far as having a similar frame and slide to the Sidekick. Most were 1911 style, or variants of that, or Glocks, which I guess are like closer than a 1911, but still I don't think it's exactly the same at all. So I had to relax my search criteria a bit and found a more suitable comparison despite not actually being chambered in 10mm auto. The Taurus G2C, which I know I'm never going to hear the end about for bringing up, has a very similar frame and slide setup to that of the Mk50. While not having a version chambered in 10mm auto, it does however have a version chambered in 40 Smith & Wesson, which for those who don't know, 40 Smith & Wesson is actually 10 by 21mm as opposed to the 10mm auto's 10 by 26mm. It's not a perfect comparison, but it is one I'm willing to draw, solely because of its very similar rounds. The G2C is able to hold up to 10 rounds in a double-stack box mag, all within a compact frame. And it's actually very lightweight for being a pretty cheap firearm on the market. Its younger brother, the Taurus G3, which by the way is only chambered in 9mm, is a full-size version of the pistol and is able to carry up to 15 9mm rounds in a double-stack box mag. So given the general design philosophies, the Taurus G3 and, by extension, the Mk50 Sidekick should very well be able to carry 12 10mm rounds and still be very comfortable while doing so. Alright, so the Mk50's role is actually very similar to that of the M6C from Halo 2, in that it is meant to be a sidearm that is able to be drawn and fired fairly quickly. But as we all know, unless you're a Spartan, firing 50 caliber rounds at the rate of an MG42 isn't exactly going to be a super useful sidearm for the average person. So the 10mm auto seems like a good idea, you know? Smaller ammo, less recoil, lower production costs. But despite that, would it have enough punch to take down the world-famous Giga Chad Craig?
Of course not, because no one dares raise a finger against our Lord and Savior.
So, as we all know, the main enemy this firearm is meant to be fighting is, of course, the Banished. And also, as we all know, the Banished are made up of ex-Covenant species, basically just making them an ideological offshoot of the standard Covenant. Of the species enlisted in the Banished, 2 of which are the most prominent, Brutes being the first and Elites being the second. Up until this point, most UNSC-based weaponry we've seen be employed against these species are chambered in fairly high calibers. Either way, to keep things short, Halopedia considers Brutes to be pseudo-ursines, which, in layman's terms, basically means they're like a big bear. And with a height and weight similar to that of your average Kodiak bear, I'd say you're best to not try and use a 10mm on them. The Alaskan DNR, which, by the way, is where Kodiak bears mostly live at, doesn't actually recommend using anything lower than a 30-06 rifle round to hunt bear that big. I'd say given the choice between pulling a sidekick on a brute or just rolling over and playing dead, I think you should probably brush up on your acting skills. Maybe play COD World War II again? But what about elites? Sure, the 10mm isn't completely good against brutes, but hey, if I could use them against elites, then I won't be completely boned, right? Right? Well, eager viewer, allow me to enlighten you. So, after doing some reading through the Halopedia article on elites and finding out way more than I ever needed to know about elite physiology, the Arbiter has an asshole. I had to see it, so now you do too. It became very clear to me that a 10mm would definitely fare better than it would against brutes, but still wouldn't be good enough. Looking at the basic biology, elites are humanoid reptilians. Man, knowing that, maybe Mark Zuckerberg can finally go be with his own kind and stop plaguing our planet. Elites tend to weigh around 350 pounds or 158 kilograms and have pretty thick skin. Their skulls are even noted to be able to prevent an exit wound from a .40 caliber bullet according to Halopedia. Here's the line if you want to go check it. And that there is the smoking gun that kind of unravels the entire question of whether or not this cartridge is going to be effective against an elite. Because none of these details even include the armor which all elite warriors on the battlefield are wearing, with the inclusion of energy shields. So, simply put, yet again, the 10mm falls short of being effective against prominent banished species. Honestly, the Mk50 Sidekick has like the opposite problem of what most Halo firearms have. Its chambered cartridge as well as ergonomics and design are actually more reminiscent of a modern self-defense pistol. The 10mm auto, while being fairly rare, is definitely a round that we use today in modern pistols for medium game hunting as well as self-defense. Actually, the Sidekick functions basically the same as modern semi-auto pistols, both in the military and civilian markets. Had it been employed mostly against insurrectionist forces, it would have probably been a pretty effective and honestly well-respected sidearm. However, the enemies it's up against are just simply too mighty for the Sidekick to handle. Overall, the Mk50 gets my stamp of approval for use in our time period, but doesn't even come close when it comes to its actual use case.
Boo! You stink!
Hi. Follow Twitter. Look at Graph. Yeah, hi guys. I'm gonna keep this one short. My OBS decided to destroy my last outro, so here I am, about 3 weeks later after editing this mammoth of a video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me what you guys think about this in the comments. Did I miss anything? I'm sure you'll tell me anyway, but please do actually, because I need to know this kind of stuff going into the future. So, yeah, thanks again for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next video.